So, hi. It's been a while since I've showed my face on any of the videos I've done since I've done the live streaming. Also done a lot of like classes where I've used this setup. But I wanted to take a little time to share some of the paintings that I've done over the months. There have been a lot of gouache paintings and gouache sketches and so forth that I did for my Patreon, and not all of it I was able to record or make something for YouTube. So this is like what I do is I use a number of surfaces. So I don't always use the same surface. I don't have like a sketch pad or drawing pad that I put my paintings in. I change the surfaces and also the sizes. I'm not. The reason I do this is so that I'm not pinned down to a specific surface or a specific size, that I can make my choices for the painting or whatever it is that I'm doing. So, and also during this time, this is a lot of painting. You can see this is kind of thick. This is what I think 48 individual pages. But yeah, so what I did was that I at a time like July, I spent that whole month trying to do a painting a day, and I almost succeeded. I did pretty much a painting every day for the month of July, or sometimes two, just to keep up with the, uh, uh, the challenge that I gave myself. But let me just take a break, just before I go into this and discuss these paintings that I did. Some of these were done before that break. I'm gonna try and lift this so I don't get too much of a glare on these pages. But before I go into this, I want to invite you guys. Lately, I've been doing something different on my Patreon page because I'm going to Comic Con. My youngest son came to me and asked me if he can go to Comic Con this year here in New York. And last time we went to Comic Con before the pandemic, he was supposed to come along. He was much younger then, obviously. But he had gotten sick and was not able to make it that day. So when he came to me and asked me again, you know, I couldn't refuse him. So what I was doing, just to make it easier on him and on us to have a great family time in Comic Con, what I was offering on my Patreon page is a special tier, is a limited tier, where I'm going to be uploading a printable file, a resolution file, every day up until October 6th, when the Comic Con starts. And it's a $5 tier, and you can download these, you can print them, frame them, whatever you want to do with them, except, of course, publish them in some other format. But if you want to hang them on your walls or whatever, and so they're available to download on my Patreon page, and it helps us to be able to have a nice day out. So anyway, I invite you guys to come to my Patreon page. There's more paintings like these, videos and tutorials and so forth. So this is like before I started. I believe I actually did this painting on a live stream. I'm not sure. At least I started it. But this is the gouache. This was something that was done for a class right here, where painting in just values, black and white. This again, I'm just what I want to do is really just assess what I've, make an assessment of my work since then, of looking at my paintings, because I really believe that the best, an artist should be their best critic or their strongest critic in order to improve. So I think to humbly look at your work and and see your faults, and try and improve from there, I think is very important in terms of being able to grow as a painter. I'm looking at this. I think it was fine for the exercise, but I can see little things that bother me, here and there. I'm not entirely happy with the way that face came out. This shoulder is so much tighter than this one. You see, it's like her shoulder comes out about up to here. If I measure here, this one kind of shrinks down. So I think I should have been more careful in terms of observation. And but as far as the exercise go, it was fine for that. As far as working out the values and so forth. And this is more, I just wanted to include more of a background rather than just leave it something like this, even though it's just hinted at here. I really had enjoyed doing this one. I did it, you can see that, the sizes were about the same. This is 9 by 12. This is much smaller. This is on Strathmore print paper. This is on, I guess, this is Stonehenge paper, very thick paper. This same thing here. This is on some other kind of paper, probably a Strathmore mixed media paper or something like that. This one too. So it's thinner paper. The first few pages were a lot thicker, but this one I kind of built it up using thin washes, and then as I went along, I added thicker paint, and rather than just painting thick all from start to finish, like this one, which I think that I wanted to see how far I can push the details with the gouache. I think this is probably too far. I think probably just too many things to be concerned about. If I think I'd have took a simpler approach, I'd have been much happier with this painting. Sometimes I have to stop and think that I don't want to just copy a photograph. I want to be able to interpret that photograph. Like this is like a really small part of a larger photograph, and it doesn't look like the person, and that was deliberate. I kind of made some changes to make it more pleasing to me, and also I exaggerated the colors again to make it more pleasing to me in terms of how I wanted to present the painting. Where this, I tried to do the wrinkles and so far as I can see, still trying to be a bit painterly, but still I think I could have avoided, I could have walked away with a better painting if I thought more about interpreting the photo reference rather than trying to copy it. And this is you can see again a different size, although I think this is still Stonehenge, or no, this is Strathmore printmaking paper. I'm sorry. This is the Stonehenge paper, the 9 by 12. So this again, the same idea of trying to go in for more detail, but what I did do was do a bit more caricature in here. So I exaggerated some of the things in this person's face, the eyes, the drooping lids, and the nose, and I had more fun with this. And also sometimes I exaggerate the size of the ear, emphasize the cheekbones a bit more. So this worked out better than the other one for me because there was more play in it. This one, not so much play, but I loved the reference. This is from a guy online. The reference is from Earthsworld was the website, and the guy just puts up a whole bunch of great photos that he's taken from country fairs and so forth, and it's a great source of all these different faces and people, and I really like uh, going through there, this was taken from there as well, as far as the reference, and you can see I can go from something more literal to something a bit more caricature, um, and exaggerating the features. But this one, still, even if I'm not doing the caricature, I'm still selecting what it is I want to represent. I'm still looking in terms of like this background wasn't there. I just thought as long as this dark was here, I might as well divide it in the same way. Um, and the choices that I make as far as the color are mine. They're not necessarily faithful to the photograph. They're more of let me add a little bit more cools in here and playing with the cools and the warms and so forth. And then how much detail I want to put in the hair, and rather than put all that detail, I suggested the hair, and not worry about painting the individual strands and so forth. So here's again the Strathmore printmaking paper. I guess I use these a lot. Um, this is not from Earth's World. This one is, I believe, but this is from another reference source. Um, and I wanted to do this because of the harshness of the light. It was just really like a very strong summer day, and also I wanted to see about incorporating these cool blues as far as reflections all around them. I had a lot of fun doing this, but I think that I would change this area in here if I were to do it again, that being a little bit confusing right there. I'm breaking up these shapes a little bit too much, and I don't think that unless I'm here to say, oh, it was just really harsh sunlight and that's why it looks that way, anyone would be able to understand why that is broken up like that. you know. But I had a lot of fun doing this. Actually, this was a demo for a class, I believe. This is I'm a bit happier with this one. Again, exaggerated the face, the facial features. I made his face a little bit longer, and maybe a little bit too spotty in his beard. Too many jumps from this light, and I should have just simplified that. But I'm pretty happy with this painting. It has a lot of character. This was a bit different. I started using a paper. I didn't realize that I was using this, I think it's Arches oil paper. And so this is paper with a special coating so you can actually paint in oils on it. But I used it for my gouache. And what I found was if I saturate the surface, initially the water, the gouache would bead up on the paper, little beads of water, and then after it's saturated, the paper began to take it better, and I was able to build on that, and it was a nice experience painting this on this surface paper. So I thought, hey, you know what, I'll try this again and see what happens. Now let me turn this. This is let me see if I can. Okay, this is a self-portrait, and I did this really quickly. I think I was watching the Yankee game, and I had a reference that I had taken of myself, and I had used it to paint quickly because this was before I started that challenge to myself of doing a gouache sketch a day, a gouache painting like this a day, where for the month of July. And so this is just where it started, where I thought that, hey man, if I can do this while I'm watching the Yankee game, maybe I'll do this, and it'll be a neat thing for my Patreon page. And made what I did was I collected these like I do on every month, is I collect all the work I did for that month, and I put it at the first or the very beginning of the next month as a PDF downloadable sketchbook. And I give that to my patrons on Patreon. And okay, no, this is a few more paintings before I started. This again, I painted on that Arches oil paper. This actually was an even better experience. I really liked this. It was a lot of fun to do, and I really liked what I was able to do, what I was able to get from the gouache here. So I think that all of this worked out really well for me. I think that the hat, I could have I could have developed that a little bit better. It was kind of like the shape is kind of, I don't know what word I would use for it. It just doesn't look right. I like this hat, right here, which is, I think, more like I can make out that shape better, and it says to me that that's a hat. You know what I mean? More than this one. It's like I'm wondering what is happening there with this shape, especially on this side. But this I feel a lot better about. This again was fun to do. This is the Stonehenge paper, which is a nice paper to work on. Here is here's where I started the challenge for that July. This is another painting I did on another. I believe this is Reeves BFK printmaking paper, and I like the way it takes the gouache. So I'll come back to this painting later on because I did another version of it, and I tried something a little bit different. But I was happy with this. I was wondering how it would look if I emphasized these darks and give it a darker background. So I'll come back to that later. But this is where I started that 12. That 12. I'm sorry. That in July where I started to do that painting a day of gouache. I wasn't. This was I tackled this in the way I usually do as far as gouache, and I went heavy with the paint from the outset. I started to think about what I was doing, and I started incorporating like before I start to add the color, a wash and just burnt umber, like a line drawing and a wash, and I started working that way. And I noticed I started getting better results. And one of these things about painting consistently every day is you start getting used to the material, and you start developing ways of working with it. It's kind of like more of a partnership with the material the more that you understand it. And so I started feeling more comfortable with it. But that goes in like a it's kind of ups and downs. Sometimes you feel more comfortable with it. Sometimes you get to a place where it seems like you've lost everything that you've done before, and you don't know how to resolve things here. So but you keep working at it, and then it's kind of like that usually what happens before you break through to another plane. So this is another one I did. Was not crazy about this one, but it was not that it was terrible. This is a reference I got. What's that? It's Raw Umber Studios. They do terrific videos here on YouTube, where they either teach or they show a reference where you can draw or paint along. And this was one of the references that they had, and I used for this painting. Drawing's a little bit off, but otherwise it's okay. I really hate this one. I thought this guy had a lot of character, but at this time, I work a 9 to 5. So while I'm doing this, I'm also working a 9 to 5. So I'm trying to coordinate my time, So usually when I do something that I'm not crazy about, I try and do like try to up the game a little bit and do something that I think would be better. So this is on Stonehenge paper, but it's it's a toned background. It's I believe it's called craft paper. It's not craft paper. This is Stonehenge makes like it's 100% cotton. It's a very very good rag content paper, but the background is the color of the background is called craft. So I did this profile. I liked it popping out of the dark that way, and the way the glasses are painted. I didn't know I was gonna pull off this hat as well as it came out. And again, I wanted to get that texture in his face without really trying to go for so much detail. So I tried to balance it out, trying to make it less detail here. Also pick out some cool colors in there. So I was pretty happy with the way this came out. Also happy with the way this one came out. The drawing's a lot better than usual. This is on the Strathmore printmaking paper. This is the Stonehenge paper. No, this is the Reeves BFK. This one I approached different entirely, because I didn't initially start with a pencil drawing. I just worked on it as if it was oil paint. I did washes of burnt umber, and then I went ahead and built the painting on from there. The painting, I have a video of it on YouTube, so you can see how it was developed. This one again, this is the Stonehenge paper. I really, you can see here where I kind of like in some areas where I started it with the burnt umber, and I did a burnt umber wash drawing before I started adding the color. And it was still a thing that was developing. I think it went better in this self-portrait. It was a bit different than what I've done before, where I truly did that burnt umber wash, and I then painted on top of that. It's kind of like in oils they would do like this grisaille paint under painting, and then add the colors on top of that. Pretty much what I was doing, and then as I built up the color, especially in the lighter areas, I would try to make the paint thicker. Though this is not oil painting, so I can't really like do heavy impastos like you could with oils. But it was fun working this way, and then it was a point where I started getting used to the gouache, getting used to the medium, even though I've been using it since I was in high school. But I'm starting to get used to it even more and getting more comfortable with it. And so what I did at a certain point was, when I was falling behind on these paintings, I would just do something like this, where I would tape off these areas so there's two sides to the sheet, and do one painting on this side and another painting on this side. And so I would have two paintings, and it helped me to catch up. I would scan them in. I would scan this page in, and then I would separate these and make a file of each of the paintings. And that's what I did as a time saver. This again, going with that wash, I really like the way it helped with this ear right here, and also putting in these cooler colors, and able to come into these shapes which were different from the way I painted before. And then I was wondering how I was going to do this shirt, but I've also, while I was doing this, even though I was doing more work than I did before in terms of doing a painting a day, I was being more patient with how I did things, which is the only way I could have done this shirt. So I concentrated more on the patterns here, and but I suggested it rather than emphasize it so I don't take it, I don't take anything away from the face. Uh, my wife had suggested that this is just too many wrinkles, and I don't know. I had fun with it. I like all the wrinkles, and there are people who have a ton of wrinkles. So I don't know if I exaggerated. I might have, because it's just fun to do. But it was fun painting to work on, and it was again different part where I um, get to be a little bit more comfortable with the materials. So this is again just trying to speed up the process here, falling behind. So I did these paintings on the same sheet. This one's okay. I think that wasn't happy too much with the drawing and the proportions and so forth. But somehow it holds together. This I wanted to see what happens if I just try not to go into these shadows and pick out the whatever details I can see. I just tried to simplify that. And same thing with the strands of hair right here, which are dreadlocks. Just suggest rather than really fully render anything, and trying to be more broad and painterly that way. I think this works better than that. This again, going on that. Mostly some traces of pencils, but mostly that burnt umber wash before I start in the painting. It came out okay. The drawing's a little bit off. This is that painting right here. This is, you can see how different it is, and how it's still the same painting. And I took out the glasses, but basically what I wanted to do was see about just emphasizing these darks, making a dark background, and making it more dramatic in terms of the lighting. I actually like the earlier version a lot better than this. Whoa, I skipped the page here. This is another painting done in gray values. I believe I did this for the class as well. And this is another painting done on a thinner paper, kind of like this one, thinner paper, where I worked out mostly in light washes, and then I worked the paint a bit thicker. But getting back to this, I like this a lot better. I think that this came out a lot better in terms of suggesting things. Maybe this was a bit too harsh, too red. But this I wasn't crazy about. I think at this point, and this particular day, I wasn't sure what I was doing. I just knew I had to make a painting, and so I wanted to stay true to that commitment. So I went ahead and did this one. I did I used this reference for a digital version of this. I think the digital one came out much better, but it was okay. It's not the worst thing I've done, but it's not the best. Again, being pressed for time, I think this one was a bit of a challenge because I wasn't sure how I was going to handle that, but I think it came out all right. This is I don't know. I think that the reference that I was using, this was actually, maybe it was a smaller part of a larger picture, or maybe it just wasn't that clear to me. So I had to make sense of what I saw. This one was a bit better and a lot more fun to do. I like the blue lighting, reflected lighting. you know, I exaggerated the nose. I don't know if I did that too much. Um, but he did have a big nose. So I thought that one was interesting. And, okay. I tried more to get all these little shapes in here. Not crazy about this. Did like the direction I was going in terms of being a bit more creative with the shapes. Not crazy about this painting though. This, a lot more happier with, especially this one. Using the same idea as this one, trying to break this up into shapes that I see, like the larger shapes. Like the way you start, the way I start is, you start with the larger shapes, and then you break that down, then you break it down a little bit more. Really emphasize the drawing on this one. Looks more, that doesn't look as painterly, looks more like a drawing. This one in the same way. One of the things I started to realize was that some of these surfaces, this is a watercolor paper. I didn't like working on this hot press watercolor paper. I like hot press paper, but this particular brand I wasn't crazy about. I'm not sure if this is the Blick store brand or some other type of similar paper, but I really had to fight to paint on this thing, so I wasn't crazy about that paper. Going back to the Reeves BFK, this came out okay. This is, I'm not sure what bothers me about this one. Maybe the fact that I don't recognize where the lighting is coming from. It seems to be like coming from every place at once, as opposed to this. This is a reference I used. This is before to make a watercolor of. This is a photo I took of my wife, and I just wanted to see if I can just make this more of a shape and less about details, maybe like picking some strands of her locks here, and then the ear, just making, I really wanted to do something nice with the ear and the earring, and then most of the rendering be right here where it's light struck. I don't think I got exactly what I want. I don't know if it's a bad painting, but I do know I didn't get exactly what I wanted with this one. Like, I wasn't entirely happy. Maybe this might look okay to someone that doesn't really know her. This doesn't really look like her to me. And that might be just me, because sometimes you don't really have to make it look like the person. Like all the paintings we see in museums of guys from the 1800s or way back when, we don't know exactly what they look like. We just know that that's a representation of whoever it is. There were no photos back then or anything like that, so we trust that that was a close enough representation of that person. Again, if no one ever knew her, this looks like a human head, and it looks like a woman, and it looks perfectly fine, I think. But I still feel funny about it. This painting, this was the last one, and I wasn't crazy about the way this painting came out, but there's some things that I do like about it. As far as I think the drawing is terrible. The drawing is terrible, but there are some things in terms of the way it was painted and the way I was able to get more comfortable with the paint that I liked. Again, working with a burnt umber wash, and then these flat colors, these simple shapes in here, looked a lot better than what I've done before in terms of laying the paint in, and I was kind of happy with the way that it was going. That if I just focused in on making sure that I do a good drawing, and then work with the paint in this way, I would be much happier with what I come away with. And then, so the rest of these are just paintings that I continue to do afterwards. And then what happens is when you come off a time like that where you focus so much on painting, I started to do a lot of drawing afterwards. And not that I fell out of love with painting or anything like that. I just, just needed a little bit of a change, and then still continued to paint like you see here. And this is actually 1, 2, and 3 is all the same person at different ages. And this again being after those paintings I did on July. I was kind of happy with the way this was coming out. This is more of a using photographs from different sources and coming up with this Union soldier. It was fun to do. These paintings are copies, actually. The actual painting is a lot larger, and I obviously couldn't fit it in this book. Unfortunately, it doesn't. The colors are richer on this one, on both of these. I can show you this one. It's a larger painting. You can see what I'm talking about. It's a much larger painting. This is on the Rees BFK. And so this is a lot of fun to work on. I really enjoyed painting this. And I really started trying to employ some of the things that I've learned when I did those paintings in July, and really liked the way some of this came out. It's like I've never 100% sold out on anything that I've done. I've always see like there's rooms for improvement and so forth, but I also stopped to notice where I have in fact improved, where things do look better. I'm wondering if this arm is maybe a little bit too long. His arm's right here. It seems to work out for the painting, but I don't know. But it's not bothering me. It looks fine on this painting as far as that's concerned. But it is something that I would note in my head for the future. Had a lot of fun painting this. Probably the hardest thing I had to do here is this trumpet. But it was a lot of fun to do. So this is a much larger painting. I couldn't fit it in this tiny book. But that's this one right here. And you can see, it doesn't look the same. The colors are not as rich as the original as well. But all of these other ones are original. Now I had to cover this because I'm on YouTube and I don't want to show nudes. So that's why this page is covered. Here's again just another painting where I used that burnt umber wash and tried to make something that looks similar to, I don't know, some of the Dutch paintings, like from the Baroque era, something like that. So there's something that's more inspired by that. Got the reference from a place online. Again, one of these places, I don't recall the place right offhand right now, but there are plenty of places that offer references for artists online, and this is one of them. This is a painting I did a few times, actually 3 times. These 2 I put in the book. This is really just a sketch for intended for a larger image of this woman sitting on the train. And this being the last piece that I did was to start off that thing I was doing for Comic-Con as a print. I figured I might as well start with the with a comic book character. And so there's going to be a link down below for that Comic-Con for those, or you can just join my Patreon, and you know, at some other tier. But to get the prints, you would have to be on that Comic-Con tier, and it's a temporary tier, so you can move off of it when that time is done. And but until then, you can enjoy a print a day. Well, that's my gouache book. That's the work I've done for. I guess this is like about 2.5 months maybe of work. But so hope you enjoyed it. Look forward to seeing you on Patreon and on YouTube, and hopefully you'll what do you call it? Subscribe to either one. All right. Thank you. Talk to you soon. Bye.